No, I was already here. I just thought I'd say the rest of it. Would you like to? It's 1 minute till, so let's give it another.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's go.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so lovely to be with you on this very wonderful Shabbat. Welcome to everybody who's joining us for home with their glass of wine and pajamas. We are happy that you are here. We begin our service on this special Shabbat with lighting the candles, and I would like to invite our wonderful educators and school staff, Dina, Gloria, and Regina, to help us light the candles. Bring in the education with them as they light our candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Whatever you'll figure it out. All right, so take your seat.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
As we bring in the light from the Shabbat candles, we take a moment. This is a very special Shabbat. We have welcomed our graduating class, our seniors, to join us on this Shabbat, which in some ways for us is an ending because they are leaving us. But in many ways it's a beginning, not just for them, but for us as well. They are going to become adults in this world and continue their learning and continue their journeys through life. And we have the great privilege of witnessing their journeys in the future. And tonight marks that very beginning. So we will have the opportunity to celebrate our seniors very shortly. We continue our service on page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish, and I invite you to please rise if you are able.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
וימת יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי תכל בית ישראל, בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן לקריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודש הבריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא, ויאמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Please join me at the top of page 33. Let us read it together as one. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivud Malchuto, Leolam Mevoed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכתך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe that we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלאכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים
Before we continue with the Yismechu on page 44, Yismechu comes from the word sameach, right? When we say Chag Sameach, sameach means joy. And the Yismechu is about the joy of Shabbat. And just as we were walking in here, one of you said, it's been a long week. I could use a little peace. And so for us, Shabbat isn't just Saturday. It is Saturday. But it is also an opportunity for that rest. If it would be associated with a sound, I have to imagine that it's something like this. And we all know what that feels like. So it's both this sense of relief and joy. So I invite us to join together in joy and to sing with us the Yismechu, which can be found on page 44. I invite you to please join me on page 46 and please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד אתה, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Please join me at the top of page 53. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illuminates the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for your holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. And may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Israel b'shalom.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael anachar tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael anachar tasim le'olam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom v'tov b'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
We continue silently.
עושי שלום בבלומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Well, we are about to start upon our Torah service on this very, very special Shabbat. And whenever we take out the Torah, it is a moment of great joy for me. So I invite you to please turn with me to page 244. There is none like you among the gods, Adonai, and there are no deeds like yours. You are sovereign over all worlds, and your dominion is in all generations. Adonai reigns, Adonai has reigned, Adonai will reign forever and ever. Adonai will give strength to our people, Adonai will bless our people with peace. Please rise.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malachutecha malachut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam eved. Adonai yosem o yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim, eitiv v'irtzonecha et Zion. Tivnei chanut Yerushalayim, tivnei chamot Yerushalayim. Ki b'cha levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Adonai b'Yerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Well, perhaps I'll come out again.
Come out.
Friends, today we're celebrating the graduation of our Temple Learning Center students, learners, those who have sometimes gone through the program from kindergarten and all the way to 12th grade, a number of whom have been with us for years, and now a number of whom I've really gotten to know and to love, and whom I will miss. So with your permission, if it's okay with you, I will, especially this evening, speak to them. And to our graduates, I'd like to offer you a little bit of a charge today. Today, in our reading of the Torah, we reach Parshat Kedoshim. Parshat Kedoshim is the highlight, it is the pinnacle of all legal codes of our Hebrew Bible. There isn't another legal code in the Hebrew Bible to which we can subscribe to this very day in the way that we subscribe to the Holiness Code, the core of the Holiness Code in chapter 19 of the book of Leviticus in Parshat Kedoshim, which is what we read today. From the very beginning, over a 20-verse moment in chapter 19, we have the core of our faith, of our covenant to this very day. It starts with, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe le'emor, Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael, Kedoshim tihiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. God says to Moses, speak to the children of Israel, all the nation of Israel, the community of Israel, say to them, be holy, you shall be holy, for I, your God, am holy. And this passage ends for us with a climax of Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha, love your fellow human being as you would be loved. Taking us through these 20 verses, keeping the Sabbath, respecting parents and elders, doing justice in commerce, not speaking ill of other people, being careful with our tongues and our mouths, going through ensuring that we do not vitiate justice, that we do justice, that we do not stand by as the blood of our fellow human being is spilled, that we do not bear a grudge to members of our community and people, and eventually leading us to loving our fellow human beings as we would be loved. What a remarkable Torah portion, what a remarkable moment for us. And the rabbis try to understand it. The rabbis try to make sense of this moment. Now, Rabbi Klein wanted to be here this evening. I just spoke with Rabbi Klein a little bit earlier on. And Rabbi Klein sends his regrets to you. He is under the weather just a little bit. It's nothing serious. He's just a little bit under the weather. He wishes he could be here. But he is not with us here. What I'm about to do is a tribute to Rabbi Klein. As you know, Rabbi Klein sometimes from the pulpit makes the sign of the cross as he speaks of the vertical and the horizontal, right? You recognize this in some of what Rabbi Klein sometimes does. And so, in one passage on Parshat Kedoshim, Sifra on Parshat Kedoshim, the very beginning of that Midrash on Parshat Kedoshim, the rabbis ask, what does it mean for us to be holy? It means to come closer to God, to be elevated towards God. And God says to us, elevate yourselves towards me, and I will come to you, and I will inject holiness in your lives. And that's one understanding of holiness. A sense of elevating ourselves towards holiness, a sense of elevating ourselves towards God. Right? And that is one way of thinking about this passage. But there's another way of thinking about this passage, which comes from another Midrash, Tanchuma, on exactly the same Torah portion. So in the second passage of Tanchuma on Kedoshim, this Torah portion, the rabbis point out something else. The Hebrew word for wedding, for marriage, is kiddushin, sanctification. And the rabbis say, no, this is not about us elevating ourselves. It is about God saying, wait a minute, we are in a covenant of marriage. This is not about us going upwards or elevating ourselves towards God. This is about us thinking about each other in relationship and in a sanctified relationship. And God here, according to the Midrash, tells us, think about each other. Think about your relationships with each other now as if you are sanctifying each other, as if you were a king marrying a queen. And the king at the moment of the marriage says to the queen, the bride, as I am a king, you shall be a queen. My dignity now is also going to be equal to your dignity. My needs are going to be equal to your needs. We are going to see each other and experience each other as sanctified partners. And the rabbis ask themselves then, well then what does it mean to love each other as we would be loved? Okay, dignity, justice, okay, but love? How are we supposed to love other people the way we would be loved as if we were married to everybody? How is that possible? What are we to aspire to? Martin Buber, in his book, this book, Between Man and Man, offers us a glimpse of what the Torah portion asks of us. And he writes of that religious experience, that theological experience, in which a person presents themselves to another person for all time, and in the context of which the presence of the other person in our lives becomes inclusive. And what it means for that presence to become inclusive is not just, in the words of Martin Buber, empathy. Because for Martin Buber, empathy is our self-effacement and our withdrawal in the context of our coming to terms and understanding the experience of another being. Inclusion here for Martin Buber means that we are both ourselves and see and experience the other at the same time. And he writes, only an inclusive power is able to take the lead. Only an inclusive power is love. Inclusiveness is the complete realization of the other person, the partner, not by fancy, but by the actuality of the other's being. And Buber continues to explain to us that a relationship between persons that is characterized in a degree of inclusion, that relationship and that relationship only may be termed a dialogical relationship, a relationship of dialogue. So, graduates, I am compelled to speak with you today about the world that we inhabit and to offer you what to me is this Shabbat's charge as you graduate and now as you leave us and go out into the world. Especially this Shabbat. I ask you to think about the broken, profane, disrespectful, careless, sometimes dismissive world in which we live. I ask you, especially this Shabbat, to think about all of those who might be in pain, who might be suffering, who might be fearful, who might be despondent, and who would feel unseen. Especially this Shabbat, I feel compelled to ask you graduates to think about those women who, because of their medical state, because of a pregnancy, because of issues that they're experiencing in their families, in their lives, are going to be feeling that they will be deprived of medical care, that they will be deprived of the ability to take care of themselves, that they will be deprived of the dignity of deciding what it is that they're going to do with their own bodies and with their own lives. I ask you to think about the world in which we find ourselves this Shabbat. I ask you to think about where it is that we are as a society. And I charge you this Shabbat. In a world that is lacking in dignity and respect, bring dignity and respect. In a world that is lacking in justice and fairness, go out, bring justice and fairness. Raise your voices. In a world that is lacking in compassion, that is lacking in care, in a world that is dismissive, that doesn't see the other, bring inclusion the way Buber intended it. See the other. Experience the pain of the other. Bring that other into your life. In a world wherein there is no love, bring love. Go out into the world and be priests, members of a nation of priests. Bring goodness and covenant into our world. Kedoshim tihiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Go out and be holy, for your God is holy. Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. Love your fellow human beings as you would be loved. Go out. Do well. Succeed. Make this world a better place. And let us say, Amen. And now, before we read of the Torah, of Parashat Kedoshim, I'm going to ask all of our graduates to rise and to come and bless the Torah. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Here, come on. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל כל עדת בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, קדושים תהיו, כי קדוש אני, אדוני אלוהיכם. And God spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the entire congregation of the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, Be holy, for I, your God, am holy. And skipping. לא תעשו עוול במשפט, לא תישא פני דל ולא תהדר פני גדול. Do not vitiate justice. Do not raise the face of the poor or glorify the face of the rich. בצדק תשפוט עמיתך, with justice you shall judge your fellow. לא תלך רכיל בעמך. Do not engage in cheap talk with regard to your fellow. Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa, do not stand upon the blood of your fellow. Ani Adonai, I am your God. Lo tisna et achicha bilevavecha, do not despise your sibling in your heart. Velo tisa alav chet, do not bear sin on account of your sibling. Lo tikom velo titor, do not seek vengeance and do not bear a grudge et bnei amecha, with regard to members of your people and your community. Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha, love your fellow as you would be loved.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam notat b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. With the Torah in our midst, our minds turn to those who are in need of healing, who are in need of support, who are in need of help, and who are in need of comfort. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to add the names of those whom you are thinking of at this time, but I'd like to share with you the names that you have shared with us towards this Shabbat. We think today especially of Nancy Friedman, Amelia Hegarty, Maddie Jefferson, Byron Krantz, Richard Moore, and Bob Shippey. If you think of others at this time, please mention their names so that we may pray for them together. Let us turn to the Mishaberach. The Mishaberach may be found on page 253. And now, to celebrate the presence of the words of God, of Torah, in our midst, I invite you to please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted. Do not abandon my Torah. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all its supporters are happy. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Standing, I invite you to turn to page 282 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמעו
At this time in our service, our minds turn to those whom we have lost, to those upon whose shoulders we stand, to those who have made us who we are, and to those who in many ways are with us still and are here with us. Today, we think especially of those whom we have lost within the last week, the last 7 days, and for whom we are in a period of Shiva. We think of Marty Deutsch, Ilan Gilon, Nancy L. Jacobs, Toby DeVan Lewis, Erwin Irv Reynolds Rabin, MD, and Maurice Bud Weidenthal. We also take into our hearts those who have been laid to rest within the last 30 days, for whom we are in a period of Shloshim. Roger Horowitz, Barbara Morse Myers, Robert Roth, Ronald Zucker, Robert Jones, Marjorie Kempner, S. Howard Reese, Mark Richmond, Edwin Z. Singer, Zella Terry, Bruce Edelstein, Nancy Hamel, and Lois Klappholtz. And we recall with love those whose yahrzeits occur at this time. Harry Adele, Ernst Altschul, Mel Altschuler, Paul Louis Angart, Edward Ahrens, William J. Bass, Lionel Benson, Jenny Berg, Aaron Max Berkowitz, Leonard M. Bialowski, Louis A. Bloomfield, Gersh M. Bonder, Ben T. Cohen, Isidore R. Kopperman, Lena DeVay, Iris Dinowitz, Dorothy Applebaum Drost, Eva Dworkin, Carolyn R. Eisenman, Dorothy Eisenstock, Dr. Harold Steinfeil, Charles R. Finn, Henry Freed, Sidney C. Freed, Jean Newman Friedman, Aaron R. Goldman, Mattis Y. Goldman, Joseph M. Goldwasser, Sandra Goodman, Lottie W. Gray, Ernest T. Gross, William V. Gross, Sr., Ricky L. Haber, Ferdinand Hanauer, Hedwig Hanauer, Rosetta Hayes, Stephen James Herman, James Arthur Hoffman, Louis Horkheimer, Marcia Kammer, Gilbert George Kaplan, Rhea C. Cates, Abe R. Kipperman, Carolyn Klaus, Lois Klaus, Anne R. Klein, Belle Klein, Carolyn Stone Copper, Julie Kravitz, Jacob Kronheim, Robert J. Lance, Dr. Benjamin Levine, Stephen E. Lowy, Oscar Michael Jr., Ludwig Muller, Sidney S. Roberts, Joseph C. Rothbart, Jack Saul, Henry C. Shapoff, Alex L. Siegel, Annette Silverman, Betty Sauce, Ida Gim Sperling, Edwin A. Strauss Jr., Philip C. Sugarman, Selma Swartz, June Edelman Thomas, Diane Tobin, Nettie Toffler, Edward Waldman, Manuel Weinberger, Edward A. Weiskopf, Pepe Newman Wiesenberger, and Dr. Samuel Zlotnick. If at this time you are mourning loved ones whose names have not just been read off this list, or if I mispronounced any of the names on this list, I invite you to share these names with us now, that we may recite the Kaddish in their honor together. If at this time you are within the period of Shiva, you are mourning the passing of a loved one, within the last 7 days, I invite you now to please rise. If at this time you are within a period of Shloshim, you are within a period of 30 days from the time of the passing of a loved one, I invite you now to please rise. If at this time you are marking a yahrzeit, I invite you now to please rise. And now, as a caring congregation, I invite us all to please rise and to turn to page 294, and I invite you to join me in the words of the Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, V'imru, Amen. May the source of peace and comfort bring peace and comfort to us and to all who mourn. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. It has become our custom to turn from these moments of memory and introspection, and these moments wherein we seek comfort, to moments of celebration and achievement, to moments that we think of as Shechianu moments. And today I would like to especially offer our Mazel Tov, our sense of achievement, of celebration, of joy to all of our graduates, those who are here with us and those who are watching us from other places. And with that celebration, with that joy, I would like again to recognize our educators, our Director of Learning, Dina Rock, Gloria Grishkin, our Assistant Director, who's been with this group of students for so many years and has seen them through. And Regina Krieger, our coordinator of teen programs, who knows all of you guys so well, who has been working with you as teens, as B'nai Mitzvah students often, and beyond. Thank you so much for your amazing, amazing service for growing the next generation of Jews and setting them out into the world for us. And I'd like to also recognize another Shechianu moment, our own Daniel Levin, who launched his exhibition of the Violins and Hope and his Violins and Hope book, announced to us today that he has received the National Independent Publishers Prize for history books in a large format. The IPI Prize, the Independent Publishers Prize, which is kind of the Emmy of publishers, like the Tony of publishers. What an achievement for Daniel Levin. And congratulations to you, Daniel. Mazel tov to you. And we wish you much success. We are so proud to have the Violins and Hope exhibition here and to have launched the book here at the Temple-Tifereth Israel. Are there other Shehechianu moments that we wish to celebrate this evening? Yes.
Next weekend, my nephew Zachary will graduate college with high honors, and it will be my mother's first grandchild to graduate college. Yay.
Susan, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov to the entire family and to Zachary. Yishar Koach, may he go from strength to strength. What an amazing achievement. How wonderful. Going once? I think we have plenty to celebrate. Let us turn to the Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Our closing song today, I believe, is Ein Keloheinu. Is that true?
You are correct.
Ein Keloheinu. Let us join together in the Ein Keloheinu.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kimokeinu, ein Kamoshienu, mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Malkeinu, mich Kamoshienu, Rodel Eloheinu, Rodel Adonenu, Rodel Malkeinu, Rodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
And so, yet again, graduates, I invite you up here to join me for the Kiddush and the Motzi. Let's do this together. Let us bless our bounty together and sanctify the Shabbat. Those of you who are home, if you're already with a glass of wine, please raise it with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hakofel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uv'ratzon inchilanu zikaron למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואתנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך ביהבה וברצון ונחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדיש השבת אמן.
Chaim.
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
אמן.
Adonai Oz le'amo iten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. may we together experience a world of greater holiness. May we experience a world of greater justice, of greater fairness, of greater compassion. May we experience a world of greater love. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.